To learn and grow, we're going to bring on our next guest for the day, actually, Drew Crandall. Drew is the president of Keep in Touch. He's also the community engagement director for the Danbury Proton Cancer Treatment Center. And as I've mentioned, he's pushing hard to get that center opened and provide some alternative treatment options for people not only in our state but in surrounding states. And we want to hear about that and also maybe some of the challenges they're facing and how we can help. Drew, welcome to WTIC, the Will Marotti Show. How you doing?
Good morning. I'm great. Thanks for the opportunity.
You bet. And you wear a lot of hats. I was thinking about it when we talked about having you on the show. I could introduce you with so many other things that you're involved in. Do you sleep, Drew? Is that on your agenda? I don't know.
I do. God's blessed me with a high energy level.
Well, that's awesome. Well, we appreciate you. So tell us about the Danbury Proton Cancer Treatment Center, and proton treatment is an option. I'd like to hear more about that.
Sure. Joel, it's very likely that every person listening to WTIC this morning has had a family member, friend, neighbor, or coworker who has struggled with some kind of cancer.
Yeah.
Perhaps you're listening now and you've had cancer yourself. So I think we all have a visceral hatred of cancer. The good news is that cancer treatment has come a long way and continues to improve.
Mm-hmm. Good.
There are three basic ways to treat cancer, Joel: surgery, chemotherapy, and radiation, or a mix of these treatments. Within the realm of radiation, X-rays or photons have been used extensively for decades.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is you cannot focus X-rays. X-rays go through the entire body, damage surrounding healthy tissue and vital organs, and can lead to harmful side effects months and years later. By contrast, photon therapy is an up-and-coming alternative to X-rays.
Right.
Photons are taken out of the nuclei of atoms, accelerated into a beam, and pointed directly and precisely at a cancerous tumor. There's minimal damage to surrounding tissue, if any damage, and vital organs. The proton beam stops at the tumor and doesn't go through the body. When the protons hit the cancer cells, they destroy the DNA of the cancer cells. So it's an especially effective way of treating cancerous tumors, such as brain tumors, breast tumors, lung tumors, and prostate tumors. It's a game changer in cancer treatment. There are now 39 proton therapy centers in about 25 states, with more under construction.
And I know there are proposals on the table for other companies, other entities to open similar centers using that same technology as well. You've shared that with me off the air. I'm curious, Drew, about the effectiveness. I love the sound of the focused effort and how you can direct protons right to the tumor and have very little, if any, collateral damage, so to speak, compared to radiation therapy. But how effective is it compared to radiation therapy?
Very effective with the tumors, and you don't have the oftentimes with radiation things come back, and this is a great way to really take care of that cancerous tumor once and for all. And there are 2 proton therapy centers being proposed in Connecticut. They don't exist right now in our state. One in Wallingford, that's a joint venture of Yale New Haven Health and Hartford Healthcare, and one in Danbury, which I'm involved in, that is being proposed by an independent provider. Both projects are awaiting approval of their Certificate of Need applications from the Connecticut Office of Health Strategy.
And if people, in the meantime, wanted to participate in this or take advantage of it, how far would they have to go? I mean, where's the closest center right now to us here in Hartford, let's say?
Currently, they'd have to go to Boston or New York City, and those proton therapy centers are turning away patients. They have to prioritize the patients they give treatment to. So there is an absolute need for proton therapy in Connecticut. We're one of the most densely populated states in the country. We're also demographically one of the oldest states in the country. And unfortunately, the incidences of cancer in this area are high due to the demographics. And so both proposals are needed desperately in Connecticut. It's not either or. Having both of these treatment centers open would really be the tip of the iceberg.
And I assume there would probably be a lot of people between here in Boston and here in New York that would be willing to drive a couple hours to take advantage of it, even if they weren't, close to Danbury or whatever the other site location is. I'm absolutely moved by what you said earlier, because it's so true. As a chaplain, for example, I've dealt with so many people that have suffered with cancer. I have a friend in ministry right now who has a brain tumor and is going through radiation treatment and trying to stay working. He's trying to keep, doing his job and helping and serving other people while he's going through this. And every time, he gets a treatment, it just knocks him out. It's and especially that part of the body, dealing with a tumor in the brain, any kind of auxiliary damage is just could be devastating. So I'm loving this, and what frustrates me, and part of what moved me to want to get you on the show, Drew, is the idea that it's taking so long. How long has this proposal been on the table, number one, and what rationale are you being given by the state as to why it hasn't been moved forward?
Joel, that's a great question. We cannot proceed with bringing proton therapy cancer treatment to Connecticut without that certificate of need from the Connecticut Office of Health Strategy. And frankly, Yale and Hartford Healthcare, with their Wallingford facility, have been going through the same thing. They actually began their process in October of 2019. We began our process in April of 2020. So 2 years plus for both projects, really. And so it's a very methodical, complicated process to get a CON. The state needs to do their due diligence to assess the technology, assess the efficacy of the treatment, and access issues, cost issues, all those kinds of things. So we respect the state for having to do their due diligence, but the process has just been so long, exacerbated by the coronavirus and staffing issues.
Right.
And it really shouldn't take this long, because the clock is ticking. It's about a 2-year construction cycle for both projects. So we were originally thinking we'd open in 2023. We might be able to open toward the tail end of 2023 if we get a prompt CON approval. If not, it might get backed up into 2024. Same thing with the Wallingford facility. And in the meantime, there are patients right here that could benefit from proton therapy. And every month that goes by, the impact on those people's lives is profound.
Yeah, so, I mean, bureaucratic red tape, the coronavirus delays, lack of staffing limitations, I can understand those things. However, as you said earlier, it's operating in 26 states. So it's not like there isn't data out there as far as efficacy, as far as safety, et cetera. There would, I would assume, be a lot of data available with 26 states having these centers already operational. So and this is just a tip of the iceberg example of the approval processes that typically cripple us many times. I know we want to be safe. I realize that. The FDA has an important role. I understand that. But when you look at the amount of money that gets spent and sometimes wasted in these processes for approval, it explains why some of our healthcare costs are so high. It explains why our pharmaceutical costs are so high, and it just drives me nuts. So what, if anything, can we do to help move this along? Is there a way people can let their voice be heard to say, hey, come on, guys, get this thing going. Let's get it started. We need it.
Yes, there are two ways. We really encourage listeners to contact their legislators and share their support for Danbury Proton, as well as the Connecticut Proton Center, which is the facility being proposed by Yale Hartford Healthcare. And you can do that most effectively by telephone. So on our website, we have links to the Connecticut General Assembly so people can find out how to call their local legislators. Secondly, on our website, danburyproton.com, that's danburyproton.com, right on the home page, we have a fill-in form where listeners can submit their comments, and we get those comments and distribute them to the powers that be to let people know that this is a much-needed, much-wanted new resource for cancer treatment in Connecticut.
Yeah, amen, brother. Well, Drew, we appreciate you. Appreciate the work you do. Appreciate what you've shared with us. That's danburyproton.com if you want to check out some more information and get in touch with him. Drew, best to you. God bless you, and appreciate you coming on the show today.
Thank you, sir.
Take care.